Are you someone who gets a lot of criticisms in their life and finds it difficult to deal with them? Hi, I'm Sumedhan Ramesh, and in this video, I'm going to talk about how is it that you can deal with peer pressure, such that by dealing with the criticism that you get and the pressure that you have on you, you can learn something and improve if there are any faults that you need to improve upon and become more confident in yourself. So, in my opinion, the type of people that you surround yourself with plays a huge role on the type of pressure that you get on you as well, or the type of criticisms that people put on you. So you can simplify the model into two parts here. The first part being the type of person who wants you to improve, and the second type of person is the type of person who doesn't want you to improve or who wants you to fail to a certain extent. And both these types of people are going to give you criticisms. They are going to in a way put you down or challenge you in certain aspects of your life. But if you look at the first person, the person is trying to challenge you such that you take action and you try to make necessary improvements in the place where you have a deficit, such that eventually you don't have the deficit anymore and you become a better person compared to who you were like a few months ago or a few years ago. And if you look at the other person, their main tendency or their main notion is to make you fail because they themselves have similar insecurities or similar problems that they have to deal with, or they have some other approach like a type of mindset that enables them to have certain insecurities in them. And because they have that approach or they have that mindset, they don't want other people around them to improve, and so they try to criticize you, or they tend to put pressure on you where they would rather watch you fail than improve. So again, this is like a simple model that I want you guys to use as a reference and try to look at the type of people that you surround yourself with, the type of people that are there in your social circle. But with that said, this is the process or the steps that I would recommend you guys in order to deal with peer pressure. And I want you guys to remember that dealing with peer pressure is not that big of a challenge. It depends on your circumstance, and it depends on, again, it does depend on the type of people that you surround yourself with. But when you look at the challenges or the criticisms that you get right now, it might seem like a huge deal, and right now it might seem like a big problem, and you might feel demotivated to surround yourself with people like that, or demotivated to address your weaknesses. But when you look at yourself in a long enough time horizon, say you expand the horizon to years, not months or days, then you will look at those criticisms, or you will look at those the pressure that you have on yourself, and you won't take it as that big of a deal when you put yourself 5, 10, 15 years from now in the future. Because in 5 to 10 years period of time, the type of criticism that you get now wouldn't be a big of a problem, but right now it seems like a big of a problem to you because you either don't put yourself in even more challenging situations, or you might not have a particular ambition, or you might not have something that you really want to chase, and thereby you tend to put too much emphasis or too much worry about the criticisms or the pressure that you get from people around you. So that being said, this is a 4-step process that I would recommend you guys to follow. The first is to detach the criticisms from your identity, and this one step is the biggest step in all the 4, because not only is this the starting step for you guys where you make that initial change in your approach or change in your perspective, and thereby be able to make necessary changes in your personality, but it also has more value when you look at it in a long-term perspective. So detaching the criticism that you get from identity, what I mean by that is, as and when someone criticizes you, it is better for you not to take it personally and to look at that as a problem that isn't exactly attached to your identity or your emotions or your beliefs. And when you look at it as something external, not only would you be able to have lesser emotional investment into this external entity, but you would also be able to apply rational, logical analysis on this external entity, and by doing so you will be able to look at the problem with a more rational perspective, and you would be able to critically analyze the problem with much more detail and much more depth. So not only would you be able to look at the problem and see whether it is a problem or not, but you would also be able to go and find the root problems behind the root reasons, underlying reasons behind why you have such a deficit or why this is a problem in your life. And you can only do that through a rational analysis or a rational perspective. And so if you're able to detach the criticism that you get from other people from your identity, you also tend to not worry too much about your ego getting hurt, or not worry too much about the perspectives that other people have on you, simply because you know that it is a problem which is in a way external, and so you deal with this external problem with a more rational perspective, and you will be able to come up with better solutions because you have a rational approach to it. The second step would be to reflect upon your weaknesses. So now you have developed a perspective which enables you to not attach it to your identity, but instead detach it from your identity and look at it as an external object. The second thing you do is reflect upon your weaknesses. So you look at this problem and you realize what type of weaknesses do you have when you're trying to address this problem or make changes to the problem. So the type of weaknesses that you could have could be based on your character traits, or it could be some sort of a skill deficit, or it could also be a belief that you don't have inside of you. So if it is your character traits, you just need to expose yourself in different social situations, and you just need to develop your personality in that aspect, in the social side of things, where you're able to make changes in your character traits and fine tune it to the best extent possible. When it comes to the skill deficit side, you know what skill is it that you need to develop. So you spend enough time and energy to develop that skill and become good at that. And when it comes to the belief aspect of it, you just need to look at the extent to which you need to work, or the extent to which you have made improvements in the past. And based on the improvements that you've made in the past, you can be more confident in yourself, and you can develop more, you can develop a belief in yourself, which will increase your self-esteem. So your weaknesses again can be, so this is the approach that you can take when it comes to figuring out what weaknesses are there in this external problem. It could be your character trait, it could be a skill that you don't have, or it could be a belief that you don't hold within yourself. The third step would be to make improvements to develop amused confidence. So now you know what the weaknesses are, you just take the necessary actions that you need to take and make the necessary improvements. And by doing so, by making the necessary improvements in your personality, you develop this self-confidence. And the type of self-confidence that you develop is, like I mentioned earlier, it is amused confidence. And what I mean by amused confidence is the aspect of amuse present in it, as in you're more irrationally confident in the improvements that you've made. And the reason as to why you're more irrationally confident and more casual or more nonchalant in the improvements that you've made is because you know that the work that you put in making or these changes or addressing these weaknesses is such that you don't need to necessarily address your identity, or you don't need to let your ego get hurt. And so because you know that your ego is not going to get hurt, you can be more nonchalant about the improvements that you made, or about any sort of challenge that people are going to put in any later stage. And so that gives you this amused confidence that you have inside of yourself. And amused confidence is different than a type of confidence that has ego attached to it, and that is more of a motivational type self-confidence, and that is not the type of confidence you will develop, or that is not the type of confidence that I want you guys to develop as well. It is not like a motivational type of self-confidence, because that type of confidence, the motivational type, requires you to have an identity and requires you to hold strong to your ego, and thereby it makes it difficult for you to be more careless or be more nonchalant to any further criticism that you get from people. And for you to be able to have that type of confidence, it is only based on the work that you put in yourself. And the fourth and final step is to grow from pain and develop a healthy ego towards your improvements. Now that you have realized the weaknesses that you have, and now that you have put enough effort into addressing your weaknesses and making improvements in your personality, now because you have put in enough work to make the changes, you now can induce a level of ego, a healthy level of ego to the work that you have done in the past. And this healthy level of ego, or you could even say a healthy level of narcissism, is not only going to help you stay strong or stay true to the work that you have done, but it also helps you to handle the pain or the emotional pain that you were dealing with in the past, because you did not address your weaknesses, or because you did not because you took the criticisms as an insult to your identity. Now, because after having put in the work, you can now handle that pain, that emotional pain that you have been holding as a baggage for a long period of time, and you can grow from that emotional pain simply by developing a healthy ego or a healthy narcissism towards the work that you have put in addressing your weaknesses. So again, it is a healthy level of ego or a healthy level of narcissism. I don't want you guys to take it to the extreme end and be extremely narcissistic and not be open-minded at all. You still need to be open-minded enough to face the next challenge. You still need to be open-minded enough to develop a different perspective to the improvements that you have made. And you still need to be open-minded enough to understand that there are different other solutions as well. Now, it is not that the solution that you came up with is the only solution and you will stick with this solution and prove other people's solution as false. There are other solutions to the problems that you addressed as well. And if you're open-minded to all these things, you will be able to develop this healthy narcissism and this healthy ego. And when you develop this healthy ego or this healthy narcissism, you will be able to own the improvements that you made. And once you are able to own the improvements you have made, you'll be more confident and your self-esteem will be more deep and it will be more genuine in nature. So this is a 4-step process that I recommend you guys follow. And each of the steps that you address, the time or the effort that you put in making the necessary changes based on that particular step will vary from person to person and will vary depending upon your circumstance. But if you are willing to understand how much time you need to put in and manage your expectations accordingly, you will be able to make changes within a quick enough period of time, because you now have a structure that you're following, and following this structure is going to make you have quicker results and quicker improvements instead of diverging away and getting distracted or losing confidence or losing motivation in your ability to deal with criticism and your ability to deal with peer pressure. If you guys found this valuable, please comment below. If you disagreed upon something that I said, or if you did not understand something, if you have some sort of a confusion in the process that I just laid out for you guys, please comment below that as well. And take a bit more time in trying to understand this process if you did not get it the first go. Or it is totally fine if you did not understand it. Or if you will be able to understand its benefit once you start taking actions and once you start implementing it in your life. And that's all for this video. Thank you for watching.